Chapter 3. The War Against Children. Exodus chapter 1, verses 15 to 22. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, When ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, Why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied, and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every son that is born ye shall cast unto the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. Exodus chapter 1, verses 15 to 22. There are 2 points of controversy or evasion in this text. First, how could Israel be as numerous as we are told it was, and yet have only 2 midwives? In Exodus chapter 12, verse 37 following, we are told that 600,000 men of Israel, with their women and children, plus a mixed multitude of Egyptians and other foreigners, left Egypt during the Exodus. Thus, the Hebrew population was perhaps 2 million. How could 2 midwives care for perhaps 600,000 women? Granted that only a limited percentage of these were at the point of childbirth at any moment, how was this possible? Second, in spite of some evasive comments by some scholars, the 2 midwives lied to Pharaoh, and God blessed them. Why did God bless them, and how shall this fact be interpreted? More than a few commentators find this text embarrassing to expound. Turning first to the midwives and the many births, the usual explanation of their number is to say that either the 2 women headed guilds of midwives, or that the population data concerning Israel was wrong. Neither alternative is necessary. When Israel entered Egypt, it had 70 persons of Abrahamic blood, and some thousands who, while not of Abraham, were probably related racial stock. Moreover, in the generations that followed, all these people intermarried. In my years among American Indians, I learned that, in the time prior to the coming of the Europeans, Indian women gave birth easily and readily. A child would be delivered under a tree, and the woman was at once able to resume her work, because the head and shoulders of the Indian child were proportional to the mother's pelvic structure. However, when the first babies of mixed blood were born, the birth ripped the woman badly and caused her great pain, and the birth required help from others. At first, such mixed blood babies were killed at once because it was believed that they were demonic, since they hurt their mother so badly. Later, it was noted that the few mixed blood babies kept alive had a greater resistance to disease, many of the diseases having been brought by Europeans, and they were then routinely kept alive. With regard to the Hebrew women, we can assume a like ease in delivery. It is a modern assumption that every delivery requires a doctor or a midwife. Such an assumption is a valid one, perhaps for our time, but we cannot read it back into a distant past. For any difficult deliveries, 2 midwives could have sufficed. The midwives told Pharaoh that the Hebrew women were more lively. Gispin notes that the term can possibly mean that the Hebrew women, like sheep and goats, gave birth rapidly and easily. The term they used could express contempt, which may have enabled them to escape Pharaoh's suspicion and wrath. The midwives said, "The Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women." This was probably very true. The Egyptian Empire used many slaves from Asia, Africa, and even Europe, so that a mixed genetic stock existed. This would create problems in childbirth. Second, it is possible that the midwives were not Hebrews but Egyptian, and the term Hebrew midwives might refer to the fact that they worked for Hebrew women, as Josephus wrote. The point is not important. Pharaoh gave them an order, and he expected it to be obeyed. Disobedience to the will of a living God was not common. Pharaoh had no knowledge of the facts of Hebrew women and their ease of childbirth. Perhaps he questioned advisers after the midwives gave their explanation and was told that the Hebrew women indeed gave birth easily and without help. He clearly accepted the story of the midwives. At the same time, we are plainly told that the midwives were not abortionists. Wherever they were called, they saved the men children alive, verse 17. In the process, they probably alerted the Hebrews to Pharaoh's plans. The male children were to be killed and the females kept alive. These girls would be added to Egyptian harems and their progeny absorbed into Egypt's, a routine process in Egypt's history. The Bible is clear that the midwives did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, verse 17. They violated Pharaoh's commandment and gave him an answer which was both evasive and false. Therefore God blessed them and made them heads of notable houses or families, dynasties, verses 20 and 21. Had they done otherwise, they would have been accessories to murder. The law reads, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbour," Exodus chapter 20, verse 16. And the purpose of the law is justice. If we assist evil, we are in violation of God's law, and we are accessories to the crime. We do not owe the truth to a man who plans to use it to do evil. The abuse of this text by some is a sorry commentary on the morality of those who prefer to see evil done than to tell a lie. Such people are immoral. The text is very clear that the women disobeyed Pharaoh, that they then lied about it, and that God blessed them greatly. Of course, some people feel quite free to correct God on his moral behaviour. On this text, Calvin erred badly. Parker's comment was very good. So the king could not carry out his own command. A king can give an order, but he requires the help of others to carry it into effect. Think of the proud Pharaoh having to take 2 humble midwives into his confidence. The plan of murder is not so easy a plan after all. There are persons to be consulted who may turn round upon us and on some ground deny our authority. From the king, we have a right to expect protection, security, and encouragement. Yet the water of the fountain was poisoned, and the worm of destruction was gnawing the very roots of power. What if the midwives set themselves against Pharaoh? 2 humble women may be more than a match for the great king of Egypt. No influence, how obscure soever, is to be treated with contempt. A child may baffle a king. A kitten has been known to alarm a bear. A fly once choked a pope. What if a midwife should turn to confusion the sanguinary counsels of a cowardly king? The midwives thwarted Pharaoh. They apparently alerted the Hebrews so that male babies were hidden to prevent their execution by drowning in the Nile, verse 22. The reference to stools in verse 16 is to the 2 stones on which the woman of Egypt sat or knelt during delivery. This was still done in Egypt, at least into the 19th century. What Pharaoh attempted to do was nothing unusual in antiquity, and many states, including Rome, Sparta, Athens, and even modern China, thought nothing of executing unwanted babies. Modern abortion is in line with ancient paganism. Then as now, the matter is treated by non-Christians casually and as a necessary and even wise policy of state. Pharaoh was at least honest in openly designating a particular national or racial group for destruction. Today, it is done less directly and with ostensible nobility. Certain racial groups are commonly urged to obtain abortions by advisors who believe that a problem of overpopulation exists, especially among peoples they dislike. The result is a war against children, especially unborn babies. When a nation and a worldwide order routinely makes war on unborn babies and murders them by the millions, it passes a death sentence against itself. We find a statement by our Lord cited by 3 of the Gospels: Matthew chapter 18 verse 6, Mark chapter 9 verse 42, and Luke chapter 17 verse 2. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Matthew chapter 18 verse 6. Certainly, the murder of the unborn little ones is an even greater offence.